President's nomination of Justice Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court reaches a milestone. Today marks his first year on the bench. In roughly 60 votes thus far, Gorsuch has been closely aligned with Justice Clarence Thomas, voting with him in 14 of 17 non-unanimous rulings. Three big decisions await: gerrymandering, the Trump travel ban, religious liberty case, Masterpiece Cake Shop versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, many others, union dues and all kinds of things. So how do his critics and supporters view the justice's first year? Let's ask Chief Counsel and Policy Director for the Judicial Crisis Network, Carrie Severino, and Elizabeth Wydra, President of the Constitutional Accountability Center. Great to have you both in tonight.
Great to be here.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of what we've gotten here. Nan Aaron with the Alliance for Justice, obviously leans to the left, said this today. Unfortunately, Justice Gorsuch has fulfilled most of our expectations by taking up residence on the extreme right wing of the Supreme Court, where he's questioned the principle of one man, one vote, showed willingness to hold President Trump's discriminatory travel ban, and ruled against the rights of LGBTQ Americans and civil rights plaintiffs. Carrie.
A lot of those decisions were not terribly shocking. I mean, for example, with the travel ban, this is something, at least in terms of the stay, that was unanimously agreed to across the court. Really, what we've seen is, in the most of the cases, as we do throughout most cases, a large number of them are, in fact, unanimous. I think he's been amazing on the court because he's gone back to some of the same themes we saw during his confirmation hearings of, let's be very faithful to the text of the law. Let's stick with what the Constitution says here and make sure we're going back to that. And he's called the court back to that in several cases, in his opinions and in oral arguments. So I think it's been great, because what you saw during the confirmation hearings, and which everyone was pretty impressed with, is really what you got. He's very faithful to his oath.
Well, and that's what Leonard Leo, who was instrumental in suggesting and getting him on the White House radar, clearly. He's executive VP of the Federalist Society, said this: he's been a very worthy successor, referring to Justice Scalia, whom he replaced. He says, I think Justice Neil Gorsuch has proven to be everything that the president anticipated. And Elizabeth, depending on whether you're on the left or the right, that's a good or a bad thing. I mean, he is pretty much what people expected.
Well, I think that remains to be seen, actually. He talked in his confirmation hearing a lot about judicial minimalism, respecting state legislatures and the decisions of Congress when it comes to the role of the judge, not being a politician in a robe. And here we have him potentially striking down about half of the state's ways that they interact with their public sector employees in the Janus union case.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the Masterpiece Cake Shop case, there are a number of states that have decided that they don't want to allow businesses to discriminate against gay and lesbian couples. And so, you know, we'll see whether he's going to be the judicial minimalist that he claimed to be. I think also what I'm really looking forward to in the big cases that have yet to come down is how he rules on the actual merits of the Trump travel ban.
Right.
Many
Travel ban
of us
3.0
exactly
heading to the court within weeks.
The last day of argument, and you know, he claimed that he would be an independent check on the president, even though the president is the one who put him on the bench. But we'll see whether he's going to rubber stamp Trump's discriminatory travel ban, or actually, in my opinion, follow the Constitution and the law where it leads, which is to say that it's unlawful.
Well, Carrie, the court has a lot, we all know, over the last few years, put a check on executive power in a number of cases. Where do you think they go on the travel ban, and where do you think Justice Gorsuch falls in that vote?
Well, I think when you look at the actual merits of the order as it stands now, this one is even stronger position than the previous iterations of the travel ban. And the national security issue is an area where the president and the executive has its strongest ebb of power. So I really think it's not just Justice Gorsuch. I think you're going to see an overwhelming, if not unanimous, opinion that this ban, like President Trump or not, the president simply has very strong authority in the national security realm. And what they've done here has been a ever more in-depth view of these countries specifically. This is not a broad ban on just one religion, for example.
Well, Elizabeth, I want to ask you quickly about this union case we mentioned. This has to do with public sector employees. In this case, it's teachers, and whether or not they can be forced to pay union dues and union fees when they disagree with the politics of what the union is doing. It can have a huge impact. He did not say one word during this case, and he's been a very active questioner. What did that say to you, that he was not tipping his hand at all?
Well, that was very interesting. And, you know, in that case, Constitutional Accountability Center represents Republican state legislators who are saying, as a matter of federalism, you should allow these states to have arrangements with public sector unions that requires a small fair share fee to cover the amount of collective bargaining that goes to safer workplace conditions, better pay and hours, et cetera. And that's really really a fair arrangement. And as a matter of federalism, the Supreme Court, when there's no good reason in the First Amendment, should let it stand. So we'll see whether he's a federalist, a judicial minimalist, all of that when the big cases come down.
I see a little twinkle in the eye over there of Carrie, thinking that you can be multiple things and come
you
to
can, and when there's no good reason, the First Amendment maybe, but compelled speech and forcing people to subsidize speech that they disagree with. And when you're talking about a public employee union, everything from their payment to their retirement plans, all of that is the same thing people are running on. You know, so these are all
safe
public
workplaces shouldn't
issues.
be a political issue. That should be safety. But.
We should all agree on safety.
Yes.
We'll leave it there.
Safety's great.
It's going to be a very busy next few weeks over there at the court. Great to see you both. Thanks for coming in.